Hey everyone, did you miss me? But yeah, I figured I can't go 2 extra days during the week without making any video, and so here I am making a video. And yeah, mainly it's just to catch you all up. So that's what I'm gonna do. I realized that Wednesday night is a big night for streaming, and so I'm gonna be competing with who knows how many other streams, but this is a time that works. So here we go. So yeah, I titled this. I'm gonna get to the business first. I titled this stream shipping setback. Now that's like about 30% clickbait, so don't stress out. It's going to be just fine. But what I was really hoping to do was get everything shipped out before Thanksgiving. And what I learned is that that is really difficult to do with almost 1,000 packages. It was crazy. But it's been a really good learning experience. And actually, I think still I'm crushing it. Honestly, I'm over halfway through with having everything shipped out, and so that means that there's still almost half of the stuff to ship, which is a lot. And so we're working on it. I still think that it's possible to have everything in the mail by probably Saturday. I'm hoping like Saturday I can make one last trip to the post office. I don't want to make any promises though, because it could go very wrong. So we'll see. And I'll give you some of the details. I'm learning a ton though. I'm trying to really take notes, and I want to make probably a video sometime on fulfillment, on some of the things that I learned, and possibly some do's and don'ts, at least from this round. Yeah, let's see. Thanks. I've got a few people here. Awesome, awesome. You guys are filtering in. Razmaz, hello. In a disguise, welcome. Oz Art Creations, good day, good day. Rulon Home is here, work in progress. At least ship the booze. Oh, darn. Yeah, I knew I forgot something. All right, so you know the biggest thing? You remember this? The print that Chaz Wagamont did. Beautiful print. Turns out I should have counted the prints when they sent them to me from the printer, and they didn't give me enough. So that caused a setback. So I got it resolved now. I got the prints. They're in boxes. That means if you got a print bundle, there was like 32 print bundles that did not ship yet. I'm making labels tonight, and so those will be shipping, but it's Thanksgiving, so they won't be they won't be shipping tomorrow, but on Friday they'll be in the mail. So that'll be good. But yeah, so print bundles, that's one thing I didn't consider. I assumed if you tell them you want 350 of these things, that you'll get 350. Not the case. We were about 95 short. Now we have them all. So yeah, that was great. Other thing, let's see. These misprints. There's two of them now, and they're both the same cover. I keep looking for a Matt Weldon misprint. So two. So I don't know if that's not as cool now that there's two of them, but I don't know. It is what it is. I think it's interesting though. It really is interesting. I saw one person post on Twitter yesterday. It was like last night that they got their book. So that was cool. I think that it was a print bundle or one of the secret bundles. There's a print in it for sure. Really, really cool to see people actually getting it. And now, like, because I've been taking massive trips to the post office every single day, there should be, I think, every single day, new clusters of people with their books. So I've been pretty good at not being on Twitter because there's just too much else to do. But I did check it here and there just to see if there were pictures. So I saw one so far. That was pretty great. All right. Let's see what you guys are saying. Europe. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. I'm gonna do some relaxing. Let's see. Okay, DJ is cut off. All right. I don't know who that was in response to. Oh, there you go, DJ John. Yeah, it's still going out. Yeah, so don't stress. It is we're actually on, I think, back on schedule again. It's just that if you were, I tried to go in order. If you're at the top tier, your stuff was going out first. I'll tell you right now what went out. The collector's bundle, if you got a collector's bundle, those are all shipped. Those shipped first. The original art is shipped, tracking number. The cameo appearances are all shipped if you got drawn into the book. I also emailed each of you at different points once your page was finished that you were in. And so I think I've heard back from most everybody. Regardless, you're in the book, so that's pretty cool. I would show it off, but I don't want to like cause any docs problems or anything like that. So it's up to you if you want to share it. But yeah, those are all shipped. The secret tier, if you back that is completely shipped. Everyone, it's in the mail, so it's coming. The print bundle is the next one, and most of that has shipped except for 32 of those orders, and I'm printing those tonight. So yours will be shipping a little bit later. If you ordered, let's see, the one of both, so you're not getting a print, but you're getting one of each cover. Those I just sent to the post office today. I stayed up till 3:30 in the morning because it's one of those things like I cannot go to sleep knowing that this like it was half finished. So I just stayed up and got it done. And so that whole group, that was a big tier, lots of orders. So those are all in the post office today. So what's left? Basically, if you ordered a single copy, you're left. That's what we're waiting on. And so the Matt Weldon variant, if you just ordered the one Matt Weldon variant cover, that is boxed up right now. And so it's just waiting on shipping labels. Once I finish these 32 print labels, I'm going to start working on those. I'll probably get some done tonight, but I'm not sure how many, because that's a big one as well. And then if you ordered just the single copy cover A, let's see, cover A, this one, just a single one, they're packaged in cellophane, but I still need to package them up into a box and get those shipped out. So that's where we're at. Yeah, those are the big ones. Let's see what y'all are saying. Hell Sweetcast, thank you, General John and Wallace. Appreciate that. Yeah, Ashcan is very old lingo. The history is interesting. Yeah, I've wondered why it's called an ashcan myself. There's other conversations going on here. Breaking news. Clint says, screw poor people. Top get theirs comics first. It is a trickle down economics. That's how it is, right? What do you think is the average? I was wondering about this. What is the average time it takes to have a campaign fulfilled? Potentially, because I started technically shipping things last Saturday. So if I finish up this Saturday, that's everything shipped within a week. That's intense. And it has been intense. It's so many packages. It's been more like, I know that it was going to be a lot, but actually doing it, it's like, man, in reality, if I didn't have some time off work, I don't know how long it would take. It would probably take a month, I'm sure, because it would only be in the evenings. So it was really nice that it worked out okay with Thanksgiving break and everything, and I could take off some time. That was really helpful. Let's see, 5 years in waiting. If you're a SJW comic, it's true. This is much better than many. The track record is good, and so it's weird. The other thing is reviews. So I've learned that through this whole process, it's like there are phases, and it changes all the time. So first you're starting out with the creative phase, and then you're figuring out, what, writing and figuring out your creative team and all that kind of stuff. That's a very different kind of skill set, finding people and managing a team and all that kind of stuff. And then you get into marketing. That's a completely different skill set. And then you get into, it's like shipping and receiving it. It's a totally different thing again. I could have hired out, but I would rather keep as much of that money as I can. At first I was really nervous about shipping costs because I shipped the heavier packages first. And so they were intense, man. Those price, wasn't charging enough. So that was kind of scary. So shipping those to like Australia and stuff, I was losing money. But now that I'm getting to the lighter things, it's kind of starting to level out a little bit. We'll see where it lands. But yeah, it was for a little while there. I was like, I'm gonna lose money. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it ended up being okay. Let's see. Dark Admiral March. I just wanted to pop in and tell you I appreciate there's a tracking number. Yeah. So that's another thing. So many people have been commenting on the tracking number, And I know that I've never got a tracking number from anybody, but if I go into Indiegogo, it says that you're supposed to be able to lock. So you go in and you lock all the backers. I can do that. You basically select them all, and then there's this thing that says lock, and that means nobody can refund their book because you're working on it. You're going to fulfill it. So I did that. That worked okay. But then you're supposed to be able to do the same thing and switch everything to fulfilled. That does not exist in my Indiegogo interface. It's not there. So I don't know what I did wrong. So the only way I can get it to say fulfilled is to manually put in a tracking number. And I've been doing this for literally every single order. I don't know of another way to do it. I think there's probably some kind of export import feature that might do that for you, but I don't know if it would send a notification to everybody when I do it. So in the meantime, it is a little bit more work, but you all get tracking numbers. And so, yeah, there you go. So I think it should be notifying you, so you'll know when you're shipped, because there is shipping information available. It'll tell you your exact tracking number. You'll be able to look up your book and see where it's at. And yeah, I was surprised how fast one of them got there yesterday. Yeah, Dark Admiral March Hair. Well, the extra work is appreciated. Thanks. I'm glad. I'm glad because yeah, you get into the reviews and I thought, part of it, part of the whole process of business in general is it's almost a performance. You know, for example, if somebody comes to your house to like clean your carpets, we'll say something like that. If they come in and they're wearing white booties, or they just look professional, they're dressed like professionals, then it's part of the experience. They're performing it. You know what I mean? And I'm also a big believer in packaging. Like when you get a package, if it looks good, if it looks enticing, and then you want to open it, it's just part of the process. It's fun, and it seems really silly, but it's true. Like you like opening stuff. Everyone does, right? If the package looks nice, you like to open it. So yeah, for me, it's like part of the process is I want the package to look pretty good. There are a few things I would do a little bit differently. I think it looks pretty good. It's all wrapped in cellophane and everything. You get the book. Hopefully your opening experience is good because your book's not damaged. We're using the best mailer that I know of. So hopefully that's good. And then you get it, and then you got the book, and then you feel good about it. But then it comes time to read it, and that's a whole other process. And so I'm really, really pleased with the print quality. I got to say that's one thing. Just seeing the colors, that's a big thing, and that's always, I know for Damien, he really wanted to know I shipped off his books very first day. He wanted to know how the colors turned out. I think they look amazing, but I'm also not a colorist, so I'm sure that he's probably going to see little tweaks that he would make. From my perspective, though, I was comparing it, laying it out right next to another professional comic book and flipping through pages and comparing. And to me, it looks like it stands up, like it looks great. So yeah, now it's just got to read great. So I'm really excited to start seeing reviews come out. That'll be cool. Let's see. What else you're saying? I worry about thieves, so the tracking number helps me put at ease. Yep, that's good. I agree. Yeah, I didn't know they gave you tracking numbers for Media Mail. I thought that didn't matter. I thought about changing it from Media Mail to like something else, First Class or something. The price was just, that would have ruined me. So I was like, nope, Media Mail it is. That's what everyone was charged for, and I'll figure it out and see. It'll take a little bit longer for people to get their books. Obviously, if you're not domestic, if you're in another country, the Media Mail is not an option, so that doesn't really matter too much. So yeah, you're gonna get a little bit faster. Well, it doesn't really matter. it'll take longer because you're in another country. But yeah, it's I don't know. You get a tracking number for each, so that's nice. So I figured, why not? I'll post it in that way. I can show everything that's been shipped, and you can see that it's been shipped. And we'll see if this makes some of the other creators annoyed that they're going to have to do it too to compete. I didn't even know it was a feature until now, but a lot of people asked about it. So yeah, let's see. I don't know, any questions so far. about the fulfillment process. Really, I just didn't want to ignore you all, but it's just a ton of work. And so, especially at night after the kids go to bed, I'm like, okay, now I can make shipping labels, or now I can, fold Gemini mailers and get them done. So it was a good time. Dark Admiral Marcher's going. Yep. Let's see. Yes, the tracking number is very helpful for overseas backers. Yep. And yeah, all overseas backers should have a tracking number as well. It's all going to be the same. Let's see. What printer did you use? Yeah, I used API. They're also known as Jostens. I don't know if they're one owns the other or not. But yeah, so API Jostens, that was the printer I used. I was very, very happy with the printing. They had the foil stamp was the only thing I wish I would have known that black does not make for good foil. It just looks like black ink. But that's cool. It's fine. It still looks good. But I have to say, because I was trying to get these prints, the ones that I was shorted, done, I went to a local printer today, and they were great. Like, not just with the prints that they printed out, but I started asking them some questions about different things that they could do, and they could do a lot. So I'm thinking what I kind of want to do is just doing a little experiment, maybe make a little ash can or something with this new printer, and see what they can do with some really fancy covers or something like that. And I don't know, we'll find out. But the nice thing about being local is you wouldn't have to worry about ship time or shipping cost. I could literally go down and just drive down there and get a truck, pick it up myself, which would be great. Yeah, a lot of good things. I could also go in and talk to people and look at specific examples, or ask, it just more access. So I like that a lot. But we'll see. I also, like, primarily I'm just looking for the best quality I can get. So yeah, we're going from there. Let's see. Did you get any prices on fulfillment? I talked to some other people who did, like John Malin, for example, is one. He looked at fulfillment centers, and they're just so expensive. And so if I had a ton of orders, I don't know what that magic number is. What would be beyond what I can handle? But if I hit that magic number, then I would definitely, you just have to go with the fulfillment center, because your house can't physically fit everything. And it was a little rough, but it was fine. I think I could probably do twice. It would really be a huge undertaking, but I bet I could do up to 2,000 orders. Anything beyond that, I think it'd probably be too much. The other thing, though, is if I could if I could get this worked out and get like a few teenagers in the neighborhood and hire them for a week to just come over and package up books, that would be amazing. Like, a lot of it is just really tedious, repetitive kind of labor. And so I think it would actually be more cost effective just to pay, even pay pretty well for just teenagers to come and do it. If they'll do it. I've had a hard time hiring teenagers. I don't know what's up. It's like they don't want to work or something, or just not ones I've talked to. So, yeah, Cameron, sorry, late and gray, not gay, late and gray. What is the problem? It's fine. Just if you had a print bundle, yours might 32 of them are shipping out a little bit later than I was saying, so they didn't quite go in order. But yeah, we got it worked out. We have all the prints now. They will be going out. Let's see. Ozark Creation says we need a distribution center in the US. Yeah, it's one of the things I've been thinking about too, is there's a need, for distribution and fulfillment. Actually, if you are like a comic skater and you're seeing all the campaigns go down, and you have access to space, warehouse, and I don't really think it's that much space. Even like storage space could do it. There's a lot of room for like fulfilling this need, and you could I don't know. I see it evolving. That there's a need, and if there's a need, that's a good place to start a business. Not for me though. It's like there's too much else going on. So right now it's like I built my own mini fulfillment center. I've got everything I need to get things to the post office. It works. And Peter's here, so let's see what he has to say about it.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I've had worse days and I've had better days.
Go for it, please.
But tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so that's good.
That's good. Man, how many we're talking about shipping and fulfillment. How many packages are you shipping out on the daily, do you think?
It varies. It varies. It could sometimes be 10, 15. It could sometimes be 50, 60. On average, I'd say it's close to maybe 20 to 25. When it's something like Alternaween or anything like that, it's a lot more than that. But yeah, it's usually around 20 to 25.
Nice. Well, that seems manageable. You know, like that's doable for sure. But then it's on top of the other things, though. That's what I'm finding.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if I can, I just took time off work, and so I've just been in fulfillment mode, and that's literally just about it. Is just fulfillment, and I've been doing like 200 packages a day, give or take, which is nice, but at the same, I don't know. I'm just like, man, this is getting old.
Well, yeah, with you're lucky at least because, and I mean, obviously, I say lucky right now. You don't feel lucky, but you're lucky because it's not something you have to do this every day. This is just, for your campaign, and it's not going to be so bad. So you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas, if you were to look at that and go, wow, if this is every day, we have to really think about what to do here. But that's pretty good to get that much done a day. I mean, don't kill yourself. You look really, really tired, bro.
I am. Yeah, it's one of those things that's like hanging over. I don't know. Like I'd have to, if I was doing this all the time, then I'd have to, like just say I'm just gonna do 100 packages a day, and then like end, and just let it be. But now it's like I want to get all of them done, and so I'm just finding ways that I can get it out, which is great.
I missed the beginning part. I just got in here. What's going on with your shipping woes?
It's not that big of I told everyone it's 30% clickbait, but it's a little true.
Just like you to do that.
That's what I do. That's YouTube for you. But our prints, I didn't count them. I had these for months. I checked them, and we were shorted by 95.
Oh no.
Yeah, I should have counted, but it's remedied now.
Oh, good.
Got it fixed. Got the prints, and so we're moving forward. So yeah, it's still good. But yeah, I'm like, wow, I'm learning a lot, and I know that you do a ton of shipping from home, or your business. You do a ton of shipping, and so I don't know, it's interesting. And I got to tell you, this Dymo label printer is a lifesaver. This thing's amazing.
Oh my god, yes, it is. I talked about that on Dan Fraga's show. One of the questions he had asked me was something about an investment you made that you really felt was a good one. It paid off for you, and I couldn't honestly think anything that was profound. I'm just thinking, what do I use every day? That at first I thought, I don't know if I should get this, and all I could think is I look to the right and I see the Dymo label maker thing there. I'm like, you know what? This thing saves me so much time. It's more than paid for itself at this point. And at first I didn't think it would really pay for itself. You figure just print some labels and tape them. What's the big deal? I'm just going to save time. Eventually time, when you're doing that many orders, it becomes a big deal. And then the ink really adds up, and then paper adds up, and then the time of taping them down adds up, and even getting tape adds up. So to get the label maker and getting the labels as well, It's oh man, it's so great. It saves, I'd say it saves me upwards of 3 to 4 hours a week. And then at this
Wow.
point, with supplies, with ink and paper, it's definitely more than paid for every single label I've gotten so far.
Yeah. Yeah, and then yeah, I've been amazed because just printing the labels and getting square with the United States Postal Service, that takes time,
Mm,
just to make
mm.
sure that that's all working. And so it's nice to just be like, okay, print, it comes out here, and then it's done. Like I just have to peel it and stick it. So
Oh yeah,
I
I mean,
know.
I can't imagine. Imagine if you were doing this old school, and you had to write all
Oh
the addresses by hand and then take them to the post office, and how much they would probably kill you.
yeah,
Here's 200 packages a day,
yeah,
writing them all out, and then taking them to the post office so they can individually weigh them. I mean, that's madness. That's mad.
yeah,
There's no way. So, the label maker combined with any kind of stamps.com or ShipStation or whatever it is that anyone's using with some kind of a small scale, that's a lifesaver. Those are must-haves if you're going to do
yeah.
any kind of crowdfunding or just even direct sales in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been good. Like the process. The few things I want to tighten up a little bit, and a lot of that is just with the label printing and putting in the tracking numbers, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's getting there. I'm getting faster, that's for sure.
Mm.
Let me catch a super chat real quick. Tungsten EXE for $5 SGD. I don't even know what that's from, but thank you very much. Appreciate that. Says just check the tracking number on my Indiegogo. That is great. Here's a little appreciation from me. Hope other creator consider doing the same. Yeah, I've already got questions from like 3 different other creators that were like, "How did you do that? I want to do tracking numbers." So, and I just thought you had to. So, I'm glad that it worked out and everyone appreciates that. So, thank you. Uh okay, I got to ask you about something, Peter. I got a lecture from the post office. You get a lecture about doing a scan form.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so vital. I didn't get a lecture though. My post office is so nice to me. But that might be because I give them Christmas gifts,
Oh,
but
that
only
might.
because they do such a great job. Um, yeah, I brought in a bunch of packages at one point. This is maybe a year and a half ago. I think I brought in like close to 30. And they were like, you ever, we get someone else who brings in a bunch here, and they have like a form that they print out and it has all the tracking on there, and you can just scan the form and then it updates the entire bunch. So it kind of expedites their end of everything. And I was like, no way, that
Yeah.
sounds great. And so yeah, there's something on you can go to, I think it's in history, and then you go to do the scan form part of it, and it's pretty easy to do. And man, it's the dream for them, and it saves you time too from sitting there and just kind of watching them scan everything through and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, they I brought in, and it was a lot. It was like 180 packages for the third day in a row.
Oh,
And
they're gonna
then
kill you.
I know. They were like, "Okay, we got to talk. We got to talk here, man. Here's a scan form. You need to go in and make one." And so, yeah, I totally found the thing how to do. I just didn't even consider it. So, again, learning all sorts of things. But yeah, so in stamps.com, it just has a little form you fill out, but you have to make sure it's all done on the same day or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Otherwise, yeah, it won't print out for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just do that and then you just select them all and then you just print out the scan form, and it's nice and easy and simple and quick and painless, which is, you want to make the post office visit quick and painless as much as possible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. So yeah, I'm learning all sorts of things. That's a good one. Let's see. Jason Black says, "Pro tip: bribe government employees." That's right. That goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah. I prefer to think of it as show them your appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing with teachers. I found my kids' teachers. My son is you know, he's not made for school. I'll say it like that.
Not made for school.
School no, let me change that. School is not made for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just wants to be outside all the time or doing
Mm-hmm.
anything other than school. But we're like, yeah, so every time like Christmas comes around, we give his teachers like a gift card or something. We appreciate you. We know it's tough. He's a good kid. So yeah, that always goes over well. It makes things better with kids.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Makes it a little bit easier for them to deal with your little angel.
yeah, right. Yeah. Really, really, really good kid. But he's just like, I don't why. He's already like, why? He's 8. Why do I need to do spelling? This is ridiculous. Why do I need to do math? You just kind of, there's a lot of useful things with it. So
Wow. Wow. He's having an existential crisis.
yeah, he's figuring it out, the system. Razmaz says, yes, as a teacher, I've received those gifts. Yeah, you gotta, like we appreciate you, teacher. Or I don't know if the gifts it was meant to refer to the children, but here we go. Hashtag bribe government bureaucracy. Yeah.
Mm,
Well,
mm.
anyway,
Such a darkly cynical way of looking at just being nice and giving someone something to say, hey, I appreciate the good job you're doing. I know that you'd go above and beyond, and here's something to let you know that it's appreciated. Bribing
it's
government bureaucracy. That's interesting.
especially when you're in there every day or close to every day, I'm sure. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's you want people to be happy with you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So now I'm
Totally.
doing scan forms.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those things are great.
Very cool. So I wanted to bring up another top. This is off topic, but I've not really been on Twitter much, but I've seen a few videos that there's a big discussion going on about pirating. I don't know if you've seen much about this, but I don't know. It's one of those things I haven't really thought a lot about yet. But
Mm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on pirating? I know that's a really broad question.
I mean, people still really do that. They still get in those big ships and they try to steal rum from people. Is that what's going on?
Oh, is that? Yeah, there's just pirates
Is that what
everywhere.
that is?
Yeah,
Pirating is coming back.
yeah,
I thought that kind of went away. I mean, it's 11 o'clock, folks, on the East. These are the jokes. As far as comic pirating goes, I mean, am I supposed to say I'm for it? It's kind of like it should be I'm
right.
against it, understood. But
Does it?
I get why it happens. I totally get why it happens. I think, and I made like a little tweet about it. I made a lot of tweets about it last year, and I got in trouble. Brett Booth didn't like it,
Oh, really?
so yeah, he poo-pooed me for it. I'm
Hmm.
trying to censor people and whatever. I don't even know what he was trying to get at. I'm just shocked that what I'm shocked that people in comics are shocked that comics are pirated.
Yeah. What
What's
is?
that about? That's
Yeah.
got to be a fake, shocking thing.
Right. Well, I don't know. Part of me thinks maybe this is some recognition that comics aren't going so great. It's really hard to make a living in comics and
Mm,
professionals that are, being affected by it. And so the closest thing that you can point to is pirating. And yeah, like it's stealing is wrong. I mean, that's obvious,
yeah,
like
that's kind of setting up like a little bit of a red herring, straw man, and
yeah,
scapegoat all in one.
right.
It's like, yeah, it affects people. I'm sure it does, but I'd like to know how many of those people who pirate comics would have bought them to begin with if they had the opportunity.
Right.
Because most of them, it's probably just people going, "Oh, look, it's on there. I'll give it a look."
Right.
And then the other stuff, if they're pirating, I said something on Twitter about the fact that I don't know why at this point we don't have digital comic platforms that are ad supported, kind of like making digital comics sort of like the radio, and it's ad supported media similar to what you get on YouTube. You get your ad revenue,
Yeah.
and publishers don't necessarily need to put every single comic on there. If they want to, that's up to them. But you could do like what a record company does or whatever, and you end up putting a certain song. You put a certain issue. You could put your number ones or whatever, let's say, or anything that if it's older than a couple of years, you can put it up there. But the whole idea of either trying to stop pirating from happening, or trying to say that let's shame people into not pirating is just the wrong way to go about it. Let's try to cater more to the people who are there to support, and try to find ways that everybody can benefit. But stuff like this, it's just what are you going to do, right? People get mad at stuff all the time, and they go off the deep end. Like I said, I'm more shocked that if anyone genuinely is truly shocked that comic books are being pirated,
Right.
man, I'd love to be that person. What's that like? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, it's like not like everything else is being pirated too. Let's see. Story time with Yang Zan Zhao for $2. Thank you very much. Says no Pete, they're in it for the booty. Speaking of pirates, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, it's okay. So I published my first novel. I think it was like 2011 or something like that. And then I went like a few months later to this site. I just Googled it. I went to this site and they had my book for free that you could download. And it was the weirdest feeling, because I'm like, this book is like nothing. And somebody has already went through the time to like have a pirated version. And so like, I just shrugged and moved on because there's, wouldn't even know where to begin.
Did they have stats on there about how many views or reads or whatever? Because sometimes these sites have that.
Yeah, it was so long ago. I don't even remember. But I don't know. I could probably look it up and see if it's still there.
Nah, they probably get hit with viruses.
Probably. That's probably true. How many viruses were given out? Yeah, I don't know. And so I don't know. There's this thing that happened in like really close to the time with like independent book publishers that were publishing on Amazon. I don't know if you're familiar with Amanda Hawking, or there's a guy named John Locke, not to be confused with the libertarian John Locke guy. But they were doing this thing where they were publishing books and making them crazy cheap on Amazon. And they were making millions of dollars because there weren't, at the time, it was like Kindles were all the rage. And there just wasn't a lot of really cheap books to get. And so people were just buying these 99-cent books like crazy. And yeah, a lot of Hugh Howey, he was another one that did Wool. They made a ton of money off of just these little digital downloads. And I'm not sure, like I was thinking about it in that instance, the pirating, I'm not sure it would affect anything because people wanted to get into their Kindle store and buy it to put it on their Kindle. They weren't going, I don't know how else you would read it. Maybe there's a way to pirate it, I guess, and read it on your Kindle now.
The thing is, I've found we've got alternative books, some of them on there for free, or at least we had. I'm not even sure anymore because Comixology is just this is the thing, is like digital in general across the whole entire comic industry is usually between 10 to 15% of a publisher's earnings, no matter who I've asked, big or small. So pirating, it has to be even less than that. But even if we were to do something like put a free book on Comixology, and we had before in the past, and I'd see sometimes they wind up on a pirated site, and I'm like, this is the irony of the fact that this is for free on Comixology and it's still on a pirating site. People will just pirate whatever. It's just the kind of thing of that's just going to happen. It's going to happen. So, if you're going to really get crazy upset about it to the point that you're going to start kind of lashing out at people, because one thing to address it, or actually, when I was trying to bring this up last year, we actually got a Twitter account of a pirating site to be banned, and the pirating site eventually closed down because we brought so much attention to it. But if you're not actually going to specifically do any kind of action directly, you're just going to kind of throw your hands up in the air and go, what's up with all the pirating of comics? Who cares? That's not going to do anything.
Right.
So, you're outraged, whatever. Uh, why are you outraged, first of all? Because pirating has been going on for forever with all kinds of things, and in comics especially as well. So even before the digital stuff, they scanned them. They scanned comics, and people pirated stuff.
Mhm.
You can consider when they used to make mixtapes and cassettes, that would be pirating, or if you recorded something off of the TV or the radio, it'd be an illegal kind of thing, even though they make the cassettes and they make the VHSs and whatever, and you could have recorded them. So there's always these kinds of gray areas and things that exist. It's just if they're trying to justify and say, well, I'm losing a huge amount of income because of the pirating, you're probably losing a little bit. I'm more concerned with the impact it has to retailers and places like that, because it kind of eliminates that need to go browse in a store, and you do your browsing instead on the pirating site, and maybe you just don't end up buying the thing. So
Mhm.
whereas if you can go to a store, if you have a store in the area, go there and browse, you know. But there's all kinds of things going on. There's all kinds of different solutions we can come up with. But I just feel like this is the weird deflection of the week.
Yeah. Just checking in with the chat here. Gotham City Comics for $2. Thank you very much. Says, "What's up, guys? Packing 200 orders right now myself." Nice. Another person in the trenches getting some shipping done. That's great.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I was thinking about with a lot of the general frustration from comic professionals, just I don't know, like I don't think this is a good way to go about things, but like take it to Twitter and just randomly yell in mass to your followers, yell at them. How
Well, yeah,
you're just
that's what
generally
Twitter's for,
shaming them.
right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I'm like, that's not, yeah, like you say, if you know of a site that's giving out your comics for free to people, uh like go talk to the site, or you know what I mean? Like you can,
Mm-hmm.
like that's where you'd want to be directing your anger, but just I don't know, the assumption that everybody listening right now is evil and they're still in my comics and taking money out of my wallet, or whatever.
Yeah, they took our comics and our gerbs,
Yeah.
or whatever it is on South Park.
Right.
Um, yeah, that whole thing. It really is just it's so strange to me to see the big kerfuffle over it. I can't. I refuse to believe that a lot of these guys, some of them very big names, are that ignorant to it. Seriously, there's no
Yeah.
way. There's no. And if I mean, really, if there is, I'd love to have that childlike innocence and ignorance back. Is there a way to get that back?
Right.
Does it come with the blue check mark, perhaps?
It, you become ignorant to everything once you get the
Yeah.
blue check mark.
All of a sudden, you live in your own
Right.
reality, and then
Uh,
you one day you just discover pirating, and you're like, oh no, what is going on with the world? This is bad. The world is a scary place.
my
Um,
income should be double what it is right now.
yeah,
Therefore,
and then you shake your fist at the sky, you yell at the clouds on Twitter, and anyone that dares to offer any kind of opposing view, or even a view that kind of still agrees with you but is like, hey, realistically we have to approach this, and then you strike them down with
right.
vengeance and furious anger. It's so weird.
Right. Well, it's like with the music industry too. It's not it's like how many people were fighting that, with Napster and it
Mm,
doesn't matter. Like the things just changed. And I don't know, a lot of that is I don't know, the Amazon changes a lot of things for comics and comic shops. So does digital, like just
mhm.
access to pirating site. I'm sure there's some kind of effect. I think it's overblown. I think it's a much smaller effect than they believe, because I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, I think so too. I think it really
Yeah.
is. But the other thing, when you look at that, I think of all the ways that, okay, if you care about all the sales that are lost, I get that. You go, wow, my book has been pirated. I don't know, we'll say 10,000 times. And you think that could have been 10,000 more sales. That's the natural way
Mm.
of thinking, even though that doesn't mean that at all. Not at all. That you're lucky if
Right.
out of those 10,000 people, 100 of them would have bought the book. So let's say though that is what they think, and they see that, and they flip off, and they go, "Man, this isn't fair. This isn't right." Uh, you know, well, what about the fact though that then you can go instead and come up with ways to get people excited about your book, to reach out to audiences and get them interested in comics in general, maybe not just yours, but maybe just other comics too. What about all those ways? No one really yells from the sky, "Hey everybody, we need to get everybody more psyched about comics. We need to make these more uh, appealing, accessible, fun. We need to do all these things. This is very important. Let's all get together and figure out ways. How do we do this? How do we connect to readers? How do we get to more people?" No one does that. They just get very, very upset and kind of have this aimless ranting, well, everything is wrong and everything is bad, and my money's gone, and you guys are to blame, the pirators and the readers and all that stuff. What is that? That doesn't accomplish anything. And at the end of the day, you got a lot of attention, sure, but are you promoting for people to go somewhere to read your books? Are you saying, "Hey folks, don't pirate books, go to your local comic shop, check them out, they're great, go to this website, check this out, check out some images, check out some books here, I think you guys will love it"? No, you're not doing that. You're just going, "Grr, the pirators that I just discovered
Right.
today."
So, have you ever done any tabling where you're giving out free stuff? Maybe, and I'm sure you've done a lot of
Yeah,
tabling.
totally.
Yeah, free stuff. And you think, if I'm handing out the free stuff, sometimes I have to do this for work or something, but yeah, I'll be handing out free stuff. And then I think, what if I was charging $1 for each of these little doodads I'm giving out? How many would I sell? The answer is probably none or
Yep.
very few, and I don't know. There's this I don't know what they call it, like perceived value, I guess. If you're getting something online for free because it's like, well, it's there or whatever, I can just slip in and get it, then you don't really value it, or it's going to be attracting people that don't value it a whole lot. Maybe I'm sure there's some percentage they're going to go buy it for sure. But I think for the most part, it's just they don't value it anyway.
Yeah,
That's why they're pirating it.
it's the business art of the loss leader. A
Mhm.
lot of the time promotional stuff is like that, or whenever anyone prints up like an ash can or a preview, then they give it away. Or even, stuff like what we do with Alternoween, that we severely discount the books to the point that they're slightly above cost. So we still make a little bit. This way the creators can get that, and then Alterna recoups their cost. Just doing things like that, that helps to get stuff out there, and provides this kind of bridge between making something that's someone can test it out, someone cannot necessarily put any risk down on it, and if they do put any risk, it's very minimal, and everyone sort of wins in the end. But this whole thing where acting as if that kind of stuff, promotional items, loss leaders, all that the kind of stuff doesn't really happen. And I get pirating. Pirating feels awful when you see your stuff on there and you start to imagine, man, all the revenue we could have lost, and this is wrong, when we see, these hardworking creators, and they're not really making much to begin with, and all of that. Definitely. And I sympathize, and that does feel like kicking you when you're down. But that's why, to me, it's more shocking when someone's acting, especially when you're in the industry, acting as if you just discovered this kind of stuff is occurring.
Right.
Then I go, are you just feigning ignorance? Because that's awful too. And then if they just actually truly did discover it, well, all right, so this is happening. Now what do we do? Because I hate that whole process of, let's just complain about everything for forever and not actually try to do something to solve the problem. So let's try to solve what's going on with pirating, and not to stop pirating, but to try to curb it a bit, and to try to see, okay, why are people pirating? Why is this happening? Is there anything that we can do to win some of these customers, these potential customers that are doing this? Because if it's just about, no, they don't care, they'll never buy the thing, they just want to read it for free, well, then you know what, you have to cut your losses and move on. but there's plenty of customers out there that actually are paying and willing to pay. And I see creators on a daily basis doing their damnedest to push them all away. So it's also like, well, it's kind of hard to take
Yeah.
your whole "where's my money" thing at face value when you see a lot of these guys doing a pretty good job of pushing people to the
Right.
side.
It's like, to me, the way that you approach it, and I know this is easier said than done, and so there's that. But the way to approach it is you think you're also competing against pirating. Like, what are
Mm,
you offering that is preferable? Why would somebody? I mean, to me, it's obvious. I never pirate comics because I just don't like digital comics like at all.
yeah, I'm pretty much the same way.
Yeah, so it's like I want to own it, but so there's that, but I'm sure there are other angles. Like if it's just a desirable comic too, then for the most part, it's like people want. There's something great about having them. I'm just gonna check in the chat here real quick. Mogwai Centurion says, "Hail Sweetcast." Hey Mogwai, always Mogwai Centurion. Good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. That's right. And this is one I keep looking at. ER. What is this about? ER, welcome to Sweetcast. It looks like that you've discovered us and you're hanging out and chilling. We like to talk about comics and all things related, indie comics, creating comics. So welcome. You're always I'm glad to have you as a subscriber. So hope you enjoy some of the stuff we talk about. Yeah, and then here we go. Paladin Angel. People are pirating comics digitally. That sums it up, I think. Yeah, that happens. It's been happening. So the other thing is public service announcements. I remember, I don't think I see these very often now, but there used to be always these, on TV, these public service announcements about pirating music or pirating movies, and they would just try to guilt you into not pirating.
Mm.
And I've got to see, like, I wish I could see the numbers or something, but I don't believe that that kind of tactic works. I don't think so anyway. I've never seen a public service announcement like that made me like, oh man, I'm not, if I was pirating, I'm not pirating now because I saw that. It seems
Well, it's only because they don't make it a relatable level of having people understand, because it's usually someone who's this mega rich, movie person or whatever.
yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, stop pirating. You're taking money away from the music and the movies you love." And it's like, bro, you live in like this house. I can't possibly imagine you have more money than I probably will ever see in my entire life. It's hard to take you seriously. But if they go, hey, look at the store that this is affecting. Look at these people that can't get jobs or losing their jobs. Look at all these kinds of other people that make this stuff possible. That's a chance for those industries to not necessarily shine the light on the familiar face, to shine the light on the people and the heroes behind the scenes that make this stuff possible. But they don't really choose to do that kind of thing. So to me, again, if you're a big name comic creator, it's great if you want to bring attention to it, but you have to really bring attention to it in a way where your thoughts and your actions and your words are all going to count and hit people, right in the feels, as opposed to making it about your money. Because as soon as you turn it into, it's about my money and it's about all that stuff and the things I could have bought, because that's what you're kind of talking about at the end of the day, with a lot of this, make it a relatable situation, I think, and people would be a little bit more prone. But then again though, even if you come at it that way, I still feel like you're not really understanding the mindset of most people who are frequent, consistent pirators. It's not necessarily even a morality thing. Sometimes it's also a thing of, this is the only way they could possibly even get this. There's different rights issues involved. Not every country gets comiXology. So I'm not trying to play sympathy for the devil or whatever on this, but it's also, if you want to tackle this very nuanced problem, which everyone loves to tackle nuanced problems on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's the worst place in the world you could do that. You have to take into account all the different things that are occurring. What I really don't like is this. I don't like the fact when I see pirating sites that they request donations, let's say, and that kind of thing. That feels like, you know what, if you're going to pirate some stuff and you're doing it 100% purely out of your own pocket, putting the site up there, doing it and not making any money off of it whatsoever, and you're just kind of, you know, treating it like it's a really big, hey, everyone come check out my comic collection kind of thing. All right, you know, what can you do? Pirating is going to happen anyway. But when the donations and stuff like that pop up, it gets a little weird. But again, I mean, I'd rather focus more on the things we can do to grow readership and to actually take care of the real readers we have, as opposed to constantly throwing my hands up and wondering, well, why can't we get this imaginary audience? Comics seems to be obsessed with that, with always wanting the audience that isn't there, as opposed to looking at the audience and going, it's forever that meme of that guy with the girl and she's like, huh? And the other one's like walking away. Comics is forever that industry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that well said, man. Yeah, it's one of those things like the pirates, like there's so many fans that want to buy your book, and they are like they're paying money for it. You know, make them happy. they'll buy books. So
yes, yeah.
Vaughn
and they'll
is
tell
here.
Other people about it.
Exactly. Yeah, and the joy of actually having a physical copy, or you know, paying if you want to pay for digital. I don't know what's wrong with you, but yeah. But yeah, the comics, the physical comics, they're great. Now Vaughn is here, and I know he has all the answers to everything, always. So, welcome, Vaughn.
Yeah. Hey guys, don't pirate, but you're gonna. So I'm just gonna say, if you pirate, like I released a digital version of Monster MD because I knew it would get passed around, and I realized that might be a better way to let more people more quickly know about Monster MD and hopefully want to buy a copy than just basic word of mouth. You know what I mean? Like I didn't just go into digital expecting people to just enjoy it and read it. I expected it to be pirated, passed around, and just kind of let that be a advertisement for me and what I make, and hopefully more people will want to come and buy it sometime later. I think that kind of goes along with what a lot of musicians have done over the years. They've released Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails has released free album after free album, and or pay what you want. Radiohead did a pay what you want. And it's been an interesting experiment to watch play out. I mean, in these times we live in with the digital era, and it's you. If anything, I feel like you might garner new fans, and new fans want to spend their money on you. They want to support you and keep you making your art. So that's just what I'm hoping to do, and I'm not worried about pirating, I guess, like other people are.
You know, that is an interesting concept too, about people wanting to support the creators they like. And I'd hear about stuff like that and it seemed cheesy to me, but that's real, you know. Like I've seen that with just making Downcast and getting the book out and stuff. There are a lot of awesome people that just want to support the book. It was kind of weird going through some of the orders, and I'm like, wait, this must be a duplicate. And I looked through and he's like, oh no, he backed my book 3 times, like 3 different tiers, you know, like maybe he just wanted all 3 tiers. I don't know, but like stuff like that happens, you know, all the time. There are a lot of people that want to support the creators. And so part of it is like the transparency of, hey, this is what it's like in indie comics. Shipping is real. Shipping costs money. I feel like when people realize that it is very expensive, then there's more understanding for, oh, that's why there's a shipping charge. You know, that's why it costs what it costs. Or, you know, just like the whole process, the transparency of it all helps. I think it's really helpful.
There's definitely something special about the person who made the book sending it to you, and you feel like you're part of helping make it when you put in your money. That's always a good feeling. That's what I think made Kickstarter blow up back in the day, that feeling of being part of something. You know, I was always donating money to old video game franchises that were rebooting into some new awesome game, you know, and I wanted to be part of that. And so getting the fans to want to be part of what you're making by really engaging them on social media and getting them into the art and the process of making a comic and how fun it is. Because I just think it's the most fun thing in the world, man. Like lately I've been behind the scenes lettering with John Malin and Eric Weathers and Cal Jameson and doing the graveyard shift stuff. And it's a blast. I feel like I'm in my the days of middle school, high school, where you're in a room with a bunch of people with your musical instruments just jamming out. You know, it's a fun process. I just love making books so much. So if we could get people to get excited about that and get into comics in a way that makes them appreciate those physical books and what went into making them. I think it's weird. It goes back to something I was talking to people about recently. I feel like we have a very quiet crisis going on in our culture when it comes to stories. And I think as humans, we naturally still crave good stories, but we don't think about it or value it as much anymore. And somewhere in the back of our brains, it's just always going to be there. Like we're going to want those stories, but not all of us seek them out as much. And I want to make stuff so good that it makes people who normally wouldn't seek out stories to go, hey, I'm picking this book up. I want to get into these characters. I want to get into this story because it's weird. When I went to film school, on my first day, one of my first class, my professor said, hey guys, we're the largest film school in the known universe. We're Columbia College, Chicago. There's no other film school with more students than us. Guess how many films we get into festivals each year? Zero. And our films, technically and aesthetically, lighting, costumes, cinematography, everything is perfect technically. It's beautiful. Still don't get anything in festivals. Why? Can't tell a story. We don't know how to tell stories, and we're not teaching people how to tell stories properly. That inspired me right then and there to work even harder at being a good writer, good screenwriter, good storyteller. So by the time I left, I was good, man. I really worked hard in school to do that. But then I was going to be a professor so I could actually start teaching it to people. Of course, now I'm just going to try to make good stories and good books and just get people excited. But I really do think we have there's just something about our values for good stories and getting into them. We just kind of take them for granted. We just kind of expect them, or we don't really analyze. I mean, that's part of why I think people like J.J. Abrams do really well, because that guy, I've listened to him talk about his method for storytelling, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's like a complete amateur. And I'm just going, what? How are you the biggest name in Hollywood? And how is Damon Lindelof the biggest? And you guys just made up Lost on the fly? What is going on? You know? There's something going on.
That's like serious Gilligan's Island.
Yeah. Watch out for that polar bear, Gilligan.
His whole mystery box spiel that he tells all the time. I'm just like, that goes against every single storytelling principle. You got to.
Yes, if you were to bring that up in a beginner's screenwriting class at my school, we'd be like, yeah, you don't want to rely on a MacGuffin. It's also known as a MacGuffin. In the screenwriting world, you can't rely on that for every story. That's not a storytelling method. That's a storytelling tool that can be used to good effect. But you can't make every story a mystery box. And he got Star Wars and he was like, well, what if there was a box and there was a lightsaber mysteriously in it? And what if, and where does Rey come from? Who knows? It's weird. It's not he thinks as long as you make it compelling,
that's what happens when you kind of have stories that worship the superficial, as it's all flash and no substance. It's a lot of stuff like that. That's why we see so many reboots, so many remakes, so many people that are just, it's a blatant ripoff of this or that. It's very strange. Even stuff that we see that's original and praise as original. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad as long as it's original. Well, sometimes it's original and it was never done before because it was a crap idea and never should have been done to begin with. But that kind of thing doesn't really enter the equation nowadays, depending upon who makes it and what the sales angle is. So as soon as stories started becoming these vehicles to sell sizzle with more sizzle, as opposed to you sell the sizzle, instead of the steak, but the steak is still there. It's just there's no steak. There's just more sizzle, and it's all fast food narrative as opposed to getting a good hearty meal of a story that really stays with you. That's so few and far between nowadays.
Yeah.
We used to have blockbuster films that really made you think and really made you feel something. And you really rooted for these characters, and that's why they were blockbusters, because they spoke to people. But now it's kind of like, well, whoever has the more marketing dollars is going to generally have the more successful film, because you have the money to get people to know it, and then they're just going to want to go see it. You have a decent trailer put together. Maybe there's a cast with someone who's hot right now, and then that's it. And 5, 10, 20 years from now, you think anyone's going to watch that? No. But are they going to watch the stuff that was iconic and really made an impact on people that came out maybe 30 years before that? Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
that's true. Tell the kids that it's the cool thing to do in the moment, and to just hope for the best, and try to convince them. But if you want those timeless stories, tell the timeless story that we can all relate to and enjoy, and you could still have it be a Hollywood blockbuster, sci-fi, fun action fest. The Matrix was a good example of, that's an existential, like amazingly, thoughtful, story talking about reality. And also has people in trench coats doing kung fu,
right?
And awesome. People are still going to watch that in the future.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking as you guys were talking. I'm like, when's the last time I had a movie that I saw in the theater and I was like, I need to buy I need to buy this, when it comes out. I need to own it. And they're few and far between. I used to think that far more often. I don't know if it's me getting older or just like movies are so disposable. It's like, oh, well, I'll catch it, if it's on Netflix. If it's not, well, who cares? I'll live.
What Pete said about fast food is exactly where it's at. That's the exact metaphor that I think of too when I think of our entertainment. And it's a combination of Hollywood being afraid to take a risk on something different and new, that actually has a heart and soul too, because they're very caught up in the safety of remakes, like he brought up, but also there's this kind of political hysteria in the air since the election that they've been kind of, you're seeing a lot more movies that are like, hey, like we're making a statement, and it's not a statement everyone can relate to or get into. It's just like one side of the equation, very, very dramatically stated, and it just turns you off and you don't go see it, and it bombs.
It's a divisive statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it could be more about there's so many just universal common human experiences, that's, I don't know. I just think a lot of with comics, like feeling like the outcast, I think everybody has felt like the outcast before, or they felt excluded, or they felt, and you don't have to go any farther than that. You know what I mean? I just think of Spider-Man. Like I related to Spider-Man, Peter Parker so much. And that's, and so have many other people. And that's good writing. That's good character development, because he's dealing with universal problems. So
I was watching the first episode of The Boys on Prime tonight, and getting my family into that show. I really liked it. And one of the great things about the main character, this average dorky schmo, works in like a Radio Shack type place, and he just can't like stand up for himself. Like he's not a hero. He lets people walk all over him. He wishes he could like say something and say what he means, but he always holds back. He's always like a little nervous stooge. And then like as the story progresses and he takes on these actual superheroes and takes them on to like take them down because they're evil, behind the scenes, like he himself starts developing into a hero himself of his own. And it's just this becomes a cool common man hero that we don't see very often these days. I think that's part of why I liked that show.
Nice.
I think we can all relate to him.
Another one is The Mandalorian. You guys been watching that? I dig it. I like it so far.
No, I haven't seen any of it.
I haven't.
Yeah.
We were like, well, we'll do Disney Plus because we've got 3 kids, 3 small kids. So we thought we'll give it a try. They can watch all the classics that they have never seen. So, but yeah, Mandalorian, it's good. Cool. It is rare. It's rare, but it's usually in television form. That's the funny thing. It's episodes. There are fewer movies that I've really been into, and a lot more TV series in the past, 10 years, I'll say, that I feel like have just done. I don't know exactly why that is, but like Cobra Kai is another one. Either of you've seen that?
I
Great.
love Cobra Kai,
Love
man.
No,
it.
I've heard good things.
Never
about
dies.
it, though.
It's great. Whoever wrote that loves Karate Kid. Like they really did their homework and they did it right. And it's just a really it's a show that captures something even bigger than Karate Kid in a lot of ways spiritually. Like it's because the guys you don't, you see good and bad in both like competing dojos, and it becomes this yin and yang thing. They did that well. It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very thoughtful. And then it just shows you the power of, I would say the same thing about The Mandalorian too, honestly, is the power of having somebody that cares about the story so much. And those are on existing stories that they're building upon. But the same thing goes if you're doing your own story, you really care about it. It's going to show, people can see it. So
definitely. Yeah. It's not, some say we're in a second golden age of television because of all the great TV and the great amount of story that's going into that. A lot of high production value shows happening all over the place, and I'm inclined to believe them. I think we're seeing some, and there's some good shows with good stories. So I mean, it's not like it's dead. It's just the mainstream is, they're putting out, Big Macs. And you just have to go elsewhere to find your steak.
Well, I think that's the funniest part. I think
I ate tonight.
Episodic storytelling, which is what most TV shows are. It's trying to creep its way. It's not trying. It is creeping its way into film, and I think that's what's mucking up film so badly. Instead of having these films where you can tell a larger story and do these things where it's like a trilogy or a two-parter or even a quadrilogy and tell 4 of them. But as soon as you start having these cinematic universes, you start writing yourself in a corner, and I think we're seeing that with a lot of these things. I think that's why DC had such a hard time establishing their cinematic universe. It was like, well, if you don't take that perfect first step, that's it. And from the way that the Joker film has gone, obviously, those films, maybe they don't need necessarily to stick to just doing a cinematic universe. Maybe they could actually have that freedom to tell this story that's adapting material. But I think time will tell with all that, but I always look at stuff like that and I go, before we get a cinematic universe, can we get a TV universe? And I think DC does that well with their TV stuff. I'm not necessarily a fan, but many people are. And I think that it's because television as a format lends itself well to it.
Oh, yeah. You have that room to expand at a pace that people can enjoy and get into. And with a 2-hour movie, I mean, you've got all these limitations. You've got producers saying you can do this, but you can't do that. It turns into this fiasco, man. It's amazing. It's a miracle if anything's good in that situation when you have a universe as big as DC's that you're trying to compact. But I mean, I watched the Marvel movies like do it right in a lot of ways to where people were happy, and they took things from the books and they made it work. But yeah, it's weird how I might have gone and watched them before, and yet I don't really have an urge to rewatch them. I just kind of disposable, as you said.
Yeah. That for me has been the biggest thing, because my wife and I watch all the Marvel films. We've still never seen Captain Marvel yet, but we've watched all the other Marvel movies. And we're like sometimes in the theater, most of the time in the theater, those are ones we watch together. But yeah, I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that, Captain America, Civil War exists, but I don't care to go back and watch that. But why is that? Because there are movies. Specifically, I'm thinking of like Jurassic Park right now is a great one. I love that. I love Jurassic Park, and even the the effects where they lack. As I watch them today, they're still awesome. And that's a show like I'll go back and watch again and again. I don't care what anybody says. I love Jurassic Park, but it's been I don't know. There's like even the Marvel movies that I enjoy first time through, I don't find myself compelled to go back and watch again.
Well, yeah, there's something about those films, like the first Ghostbusters is always a film that when that's on, I'm like, yeah, I've seen this like 5,000 times, but it's on. I'll leave it on, and then
So
before you
good.
know it, the whole thing's on, and that's it. You didn't change the channel. It has this quality to it, like some of these movies, and obviously, though, that's the thing too, is that we say this, and then someone could be watching this right now that's like, Ghostbusters is the worst damn movie I ever seen in my life. Jurassic Park's the stupidest thing. I can't get behind that. That's awful. So obviously there's those people that are out there. So and there's no accounting for taste and things like that. But in terms of quantifying the whole thing, I really think there's a certain human factor that those movies have, a heart that a lot of the stuff nowadays, not all of it, definitely not all of it, but a lot of it, it really seems to have something that's missing a bit. And I think a lot of people really do feel that way. And if they didn't, I don't think we'd see so many people kind of speaking out about it. I don't think we'd have so many people basically in their 30s being like, back in my day, when movies were good. We're not 60, 70 years old and we're talking about, these things. This isn't that long ago, and we're looking at these kind of movies. I mean, even just look at something like all the remakes. Compare original RoboCop to remake RoboCop. Compare original Total Recall to remake Total Recall. Even Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is so old, that film. It's a classic. It's timeless. You could still watch it and get some enjoyment out of it. But is anyone going to go rewatch the Sam Raimi one? I don't care to see that one at all.
I forgot that existed.
Yeah. And it's not a remake of Wizard of Oz, but it's Wizard of Oz.
And that brings up a really interesting question. For instance, The Force Awakens was the new big foray into Star Wars, and that tried to be A New Hope, the original Star Wars, in a lot of ways. It almost followed it like a blueprint for a lot of what happens in it. Someone even showed the scene in the Millennium Falcon when they were shooting the bad guys with the guns and fighting them off.
Yeah.
And they kind of copied that, It's a lot of the same beats, and yet it doesn't feel the same. So like you said, where's the heart? What are we missing? Well, I think it's connected to Hollywood and a lot of the people who are making these movies forgetting about what that heart is, because they look at spirituality and things like that as kind of passé and kind of silly and kind of like a waste of time. Their values are more in, a lot of political stuff these days, a lot of identity stuff, a lot of were women represented the right way, all this stuff. And I feel like Force Awakens was like watching they were wearing the skin of A New Hope while it was like this weird commercial for like women's empowerment the whole time I was watching it. And I was miserable in the theater. I was just like, what is this? It was bizarre. And I just feel like there's a symptom of where we are as a culture and spiritually that is making the people who are making these movies leave that heart or forget what made them work and what made them have that heart that got us all so excited in the past. Because they also did it with the new Ghostbusters. 2016 Ghostbusters tried to follow the beats of the original, and yet it was a complete mess. Like, what went wrong?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think you're spelling out something that is even more simple to understand than even the sinister side of things. I think what it is they're trying to make art into a math equation. It's too formulaic. And they're thinking that the formula is there and that equals success. And that, well, if we just follow the formula, it equals money. But that's not art. That's not what that is. And if you don't have a grasp of what makes an audience, a viewer, a reader, whatever, connect with a character, get tensed up when they're in a moment of danger, feel that tension relief when there's a moment of comedy. If you don't have that knack, that understanding, if you think it's all literal story elements that need to take place, if you think there's a formula to that, you're not a storyteller. You're trying to have instructions on how to create a story. There's there's things you can do. There's advice you can give. There's little beats you can follow. But at the end of the day, every single story made has to have its own vision and its own little twists and turns that are 100% unique to itself. And if you make this thing that's cookie cutter and formulaic, and like before when I said it's fast food, it's just, you think that, well, the audience loves a Big Mac, Star Wars is a Big Mac, so let's just keep making Big Macs and they'll be fine with them. That's not how art works, though. That's not. If anything, that's the opposite of what you expect from a good meal from a place that will always deliver consistently. Stories, you want surprises. You want something that I didn't see that coming. That's exciting. With your food, you don't want, I didn't see that coming. I wanted this pizza that I always get, and I got like a cheeseburger that's kind of greasy tonight, but I really wanted this pizza, and that's what I ordered. So you don't want surprises from those kind of things, but they're treating it as if that's what that is, and that's not what that is, and they're losing sight of what makes a story so great.
Yeah.
I as a writer, I think like I follow a formula when I write, but I apply as I use the formula as just like connecting the dots on a roadmap. Like every beat and everything that hits, I sit and ponder the surprise and the humanity part of applying the formula in a way that impacts my audience rather than just feeds them the same fast food, if that makes any sense. Like I'm cool with structure and formulas and being a little rigid, even, you could say, but I try within that frame, I try to give you the most passion and originality and interesting, engaging characters and tension and just all these. You have to apply it right and add those good elements, or else.
Well, and there's a difference between like, okay, I need a character development. Now it's time for some, or maybe like a pet the cat moment or something like that. You got to make this character a little bit more relatable versus, oh, there you go, you've got a cat ready. Versus, hey, what did they do in Star Wars 1? Oh, they blew up a Death Star. Okay, so we need to have another Death Star. And we'll pop that in. We're just gonna redo the whole thing, with the new facade and recreate the same experience. You know what I'd love? I'd love for there to go 5 years with no remakes allowed. Like everyone just agree.
Great.
No remakes. Everything for 5 years has to be original. That would be amazing. I think you'd see some awesome stuff come out of it too.
I keep thinking, I could be wrong, but I keep thinking we need another Spielberg. And by Spielberg, I mean someone who knows how to tell a solid story and take us on that great adventure the hell out of us and just give us something very satisfying. And then Hollywood, and then but then it has to hit like Spielberg's movies do, and it makes a ton of money. And then Hollywood will go, oh, we need to copy this, because that's how they work. Whatever blows up, they all are on the train doing the same thing within a week,
Yeah.
So they would start greenlighting movies that are more like what was just a hit,
Right.
I think Guillermo del Toro tries to do that a lot. But he's almost so outside of the industry at this point on a purposeful level.
Yeah.
That I think
a real artist.
Yeah, that I think it doesn't really stick, because I don't think his intent is for it to stick. But I agree. It's very much a copycat industry. But I think the biggest thing at this point, and it's funny too, because you'll hear some of the former greats, but they're still great. People like Stallone and those guys talk about the chances that they don't take nowadays, producers and studios, that they used to take back in the day. And it almost seems more like it's a result of all entertainment being so corporatized that there's no room for risk. There's no room for, and risk is essentially the corporate way of saying creativity. Because creativity means taking a risk. We're going to be a little bit creative here. We're going to do something you haven't really seen before. There's no charts, there's no sheets, there's no graphs to show you that this is going to work. This is something we're going to do for the first time. That's the worst thing that a corporate person can possibly hear.
Yeah.
Is we don't know how this is going to go down. You just have to trust us and take the risk. No thanks is what they say.
And yet Joker is here. Like, the Joker was a risky, artsy, intense mental illness, film. And look how well it did.
Yeah. And that's why, maybe that goes on to push the envelope a bit with what's become this very safe form of storytelling lately. Or maybe it gets buried, and maybe people are trying to convince others that the success was a fluke. It wasn't really deserved. It wasn't really because the story was good, is because of the controversy or the faux controversy that surrounded it. Right. You'll see how they spin stuff, and it all depends. If that came out of the Disney side of things, that would be really interesting. But since it came out of a Disney rival, I would not be surprised if it wasn't really the storytelling trend to follow.
You know what's funny? It is so sad. They would consider it a risk if I came to them with a script that was pretty much exactly beat for beat Star Wars, even though people would love it. And it's because they've forgotten that if you just tell a good story, the people will come. They're looking for that sensational thing or that gimmick or whatever. And it's hilarious. It's like, guys, it doesn't have to be a risk if you're so obsessed with always, churning out the perfect formula. Use the perfect formula to tell a great hero's journey every time has those satisfying turns and growth for characters, and you'll be fine. It's so weird that you have to tell them this. Is what I feel like I have to do with every story I write, is like hit the audience hard, but also remind people out there, like, hey, you can just do this simple 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end, and do it solid and sturdy, and it'll do well.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I don't know, the money portion of that it seems like everything needs to be a blockbuster, and so they're trying to figure out how can they make the maximum amount of money possible. But some of it comes down to, if you're making, this goes with comics too, I guess, but if you're just like, this is the budget constraints I have, if you're talking about a film, or these are the kinds of, I don't know, whatever. Comics are great because you don't have those kinds of constraints, you know what I mean, as far as the story goes. But yeah, like what am I going to do within here and within, the page count that I can afford or whatever, and make it build upon, what I brought to the table, getting back a little bit more than I put in. It doesn't always have to be like the next biggest grossing film of all time. So I don't know. I'd like to see a little bit more risk taking, like low budget stuff, so to speak. I think that's it's healthy. You get some really good surprises sometimes.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of that out of horror films, because they're generally on the lower scale.
Yeah.
And horror films are amazing.
Yeah, like the Blumhouses of the world, that they put the $5 million in, and out comes 60 or 100. It's not going to be this $1 billion film, but at the same time, you make 10 of those $5 million films, and they gross 100 million, let's say, for you.
Right.
Well, you just made that $1 billion, and you did it for a fraction of what that big, gigantic $300-400 million film took to do. So it's that kind of thing, that kind of thinking. I'd love to see it go towards all over every facet of film, even storytelling in general, comics, TV, all that kind of stuff. It's a shame, I think, to see also practical effects kind of fall to the wayside a bit. I'm hoping we can get practical effects kind of coming back around. That's the only good part with all of this, is you always see that it's a bit cyclical. You get this glut of one thing that brings about a generation of people who are tired of that thing, who want to kind of make their own mark, but they're doing it kind of the way that the previous generation did it. So then they make all the stuff they want to make, they produce a glut of it, and then it goes into something else, and then the next generation makes something. So I think we're on the edge here of seeing the last of the vacuous kind of films and art forms and entertainment. I think it's going to start to turn a corner where we see stuff of substance again.
I mean, it had to run its course. That's just the way these things go.
Yeah,
nature everywhere. The Hollywood blockbuster became a thing not that long ago in the scheme of things. Even film as an art form in terms of humanity is pretty young, and it's it's time for the blockbuster to die and for those creative, more original, interesting, artsy punk voices. That's part of why I love what we're doing in Comicsgate, because we're like the comics version of that in a lot of ways. It's fun. I feel like even though I'm older now, I'm still like jamming in bands. So even though I'm making comics, I feel like the excitement and the electricity in the air and the creativity and all these different cool artists I'm getting to learn from and hang out with. So this has been a special time in art, man. I guess we shouldn't feel too bad about things falling. Just accept it for what it is, and then work hard on your craft.
It's like it's recognizing the landscape and like rolling with it, And the cool thing is, it's like, especially in comics, it's like the people get to green light which projects they like. If you got a good pitch and you got some good art and you are a reputable person, the audience is there to green light you. They'll decide which project is going to see the light of day, and I love that. That's great.
Because of Comicsgate, I've been thinking about all the other art movements that I never realized that came about because people were dissatisfied. All different types of movements in painting and writing, just all this stuff. It's people were dissatisfied with what was being offered, and they did their own thing, and great things came of it. So
nice. So I realize we're going on for an hour and a half, so I think I'm going to wrap things up. I do want to address, this is the thing, once you get streaming for a while, you kind of talk about a few different topics. And so I just want to get to the shipping setback, because that is the title. So if you came in a little bit late, I know people were asking questions on that. It's all good. I just was shorted on prints, but we have them now. Everything's fine. And so I'm going to keep plugging away. We're over halfway done. And so if you are not sure if your book has been shipped out yet, you can check Indiegogo. I'm not exactly sure where, but you can check it. And I think it's been sending out notifications, because I've been putting in tracking numbers. So you can track your book and find out where it's at. And I'll continue each and every day, well, except for Thanksgiving, because the post office is closed. But besides that, I'll be every day shipping out books. So looking forward to everyone getting their book and just seeing reviews and all of your opinions. That'll be awesome.
I can't wait for your book, man. I'm excited.
Man, yeah, I'm looking forward to having it all shipped out, and just then it's again shifting gears. Like, okay, let's see what happens. So
yeah, I saw the notification today. I got that email, and I was like, wow, that was fast.
I've been working my butt off. No, I've been working my butt off to get them out. So
that's good, man.
Yeah. So Peter, thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. You always have a lot of good perspective and expertise, especially on all things comics, shipping, all sorts of things. So really appreciate that.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And then Vaughn, always great to see you as well.
Thanks.
Really good discussion. I had fun. So
yeah, me too. It's always good hearing, wise point of views from you guys.
Good conversation that doesn't devolve into insanity.
Yeah, exactly.
which means obviously this conversation was not on Twitter.
Right. Like that one will be next week. We can have a ridiculous one. All right. Thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.